The regulated perspective on this is pay attention to your nervous system. And have you ever had this? Your stomach physically drops or your chest gets tight every time a certain client's name pops up on your phone? I know. It's true, y'all. It's true. That is your body telling you that this is not a good fit.
Hello,
girls.
everybody.
Hi.
Welcome back to the transaction trenches, everyone. How are you?
I like it. Try to say that 5 times fast.
I was just going to say,
Exactly.
say that multiple times.
You got that right. Well, I'm Courtney down in South Carolina, and introduce yourselves, ladies, one more time for people that may be new here.
I am Jenn from South Louisiana.
And I am Jennifer from Connecticut.
Yay! And today we are diving into a topic that is honestly a little taboo in our industry. But why not? We are talking about the reality of dating your realtor. And more importantly, knowing when it's time to break up with a client. Ooh, how are we feeling about this?
Yeah, we don't talk about this enough.
We definitely don't talk about it enough, and this is definitely regulation at its finest right here.
Exactly.
For us, too. Just like, okay, ooh, should we be doing this? Let's talk ourselves through
Should
it.
we? Should we?
That's so true.
Well, exactly. But before we get into the honeymoon phase, how are you ladies vetting these leads? Do you have a specific question you ask during the initial consultation to test if you're a right fit for your client? Are you getting that out right outside the gate, or is it something that is coming up later on in the transaction?
For me, it's definitely later on in the transaction because every one of my clients is somebody that the ones that come to me are referrals. Most recently, I had a client that I went and seeked because I thought it was going to be a good fit for my buyer, and it wasn't. It turned into a listing. But the majority of the time, I know them first. So, yeah. What about you, Jennifer?
So same like you, a lot of my business is like repeat clients or referrals from, past clients. And so I do have a level of knowledge of who they are, but maybe like we don't know each other really well. And I always do a consultation. So whether it's a buyer or seller, there's always that consultation. And I always say, like, at the end, like, this is a mutual relationship. Like, you've got to want to work with me just as much as I have got to want to work with you, right? And so if your expectations are different or, whatever, like, I just always want to talk through it. Of course, I always want to make it work if we can, but it's got to be like a give and take on both sides, right? And so, at the end of the day, I always tell them, I want you to be happy. I want you to find your next place or sell your house for you at the top dollar, whatever your goals are. And my goal is to not only have, a friend or somebody who's like family coming out of it, but also, I want you to want to refer me business because that's how my business goes round. That's how I make money, right? So like there would be no benefit to me in you not having a good experience.
100%. What about you, Courtney?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I feel like in this business, it's drilled into us that we have to accept every lead. And, I'm kind of like you. I would say 90% of my business is people I know or referrals from other people I know. But we get those one or two that come along that you do have to have those initial conversations and make sure that you're in the right place, because if it's not a right fit, don't you think that sometimes you tend to operate from a place of scarcity?
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That we are fighting to hang on to every single lead for dear life. And even if they treat us terrible or completely cross our boundaries, we feel that we have to stay in it, even if we don't want to. But today, we are giving you listeners and friends permission to realize that not every client is your client. So let's talk about the red flags. Ooh. Jennifer, what's a major one for you when you've come across this situation?
So I think the biggest thing is like just reminding myself that I'm the expert, right? So I think a lot of times these, people come in and they're like, no, it's supposed to be this way, or no, this is how the process works. And so just from being confident in who I am and how many clients I've represented. So I think just, not being afraid to speak up, if that makes sense, from my vantage point, even if somebody comes across very strong on the other side. I think another big thing for me is like location. You know, again, at the beginning of my career, I would take any listing anywhere. And so really being honest with myself, especially if it's a buyer, right? Like, you know, if I don't know an area, and I'm very honest, like I have a client right now that is looking in all different towns, and I'm like, you know, I can't help you in these towns. Like I can't honestly tell you like what's a good neighborhood, what's not a good neighborhood. And again, we can't steer clients anyways, right? That's unethical. But at the end of the day, like I don't, you know, obviously Newtown is my hometown, and I can, and surrounding towns, I can kind of, you know, tell you like, hey, like this is what the town is about and here's what's going on. But in some of these other towns, like I just being honest, like I don't, you know, as long as you do your due diligence and you know the town, like then that's fine. I can help you. But like just being okay with like maybe it's not a good fit, you know, if it's not a town that I know as well.
And like you said, it might not be personality, but just location, and you not feeling like you can serve them to the best of your ability. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Jen, what about you? What is a red flag that makes you instantly reconsider working with someone that
lack of trust? If they second guess everything that I say and like try to defend their own thoughts in it, then I know it's not going to go well. I know that they're not going to completely trust me when I say that this is, you know, probably not the right situation for you, maybe an offer. The agents that, I mean, the buyers that want to put in like super duper low offers, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 below list price, we know from the relationships we have with other agents, we can feel out if a situation like that is going to be a turnoff to a seller. And if you can't trust me that you're shooting yourself in the foot if you do this, then it's not going to work out for you anyway in the end. And we have such a beautiful business that we can refer to other agents and still be compensated. So I think that's what you're saying about the abundance mindset. If we just think outside of the box, you know, this isn't a good fit. I mean, a simple example would be someone that speaks Spanish. Of course, I don't speak Spanish, so that would be not a good fit. It could be political related. It could be religion related. There are so many things that besides personality that can affect the way that you can best serve your client. And it would be just so easy to say, you know what, I think this person would better serve you best because of XYZ. And I don't know about y'all, but we live in such a small town in South Louisiana. We call it Acadiana. If I were to go outside of my own comfort and you know, just my own gut feeling that this isn't a good fit, and then just try to power through it, at the end of that transaction, if it's negative, everyone's going to hear about it. You know, so
right.
so like,
it's not going to benefit you at all. Yeah.
It's not a smart play.
I can manage this. I can fix this. You know, oh, it's only, I can deal with this for 30, 45 days. It's okay. No, that's not 100%. That's not the mindset we need at all. And we're not saying you have to look at your clients or someone you just met and say, you're fired. We're not working with you. We're not saying that. But like Jen said, we are in a business. And if you are not utilizing referrals to other agents, oh my gosh, let us know. And we will help. Yeah, we will explain more on that. But we are so grateful. And like you said, it's such a great opportunity that we have that in place as real estate agents, that we can refer things out and still get compensated for that connection.
So from the very get-go, whenever I'm meeting with a buyer or a seller, just like you said, Jennifer, at the consultation, what has shifted for me and what has changed everything from the bad experience that I will tell you all about in just a minute, my very worst real estate mistake was missing this component. Going in there with market knowledge, telling them the expectations and the reality of the market from the jump. And then laying out the clear plan, especially if your seller is coming from a mindset of like what Jennifer's experiencing in Connecticut, multiple offers. We are not experiencing that here. But if they come in and they think, oh, I can list it here because Zillow said I could do this and this is what my estimate is, and we don't set the expectation with clear facts, because the clarity that comes from knowing the numbers is what often helps the process in the end. So 2 months down the line, whenever I suggest an adjustment, they know that it's in their best interest. And they not only that, but they were expecting it. They knew that it was coming, and not because I think we should, not because I just want to close the deal, because I just want a paycheck. None of that. It's because of what I told them at the beginning would be the likelihood of the outcome.
My partner and I just had the same conversation yesterday about a listing that she was competing for. And, it's the same thing. It's about like, we just talk through like setting that expectation up front, like, hey, like happy to try a price that you want, right? But like really putting your foot down, and maybe like if you didn't get it because of that, like knowing that you felt that strongly, right? Or the market that well, that it's important to set that expectation up front. That way, when you are making a price reduction or potentially making a price reduction in the future, they know that that's where you were coming from, right? That you did know.
I have a listing that came active yesterday, went live yesterday, that I interviewed for about almost a year ago. And I gave them my price expectation and what I thought was going to happen, and then what we would do if it didn't happen, like my whole strategy. And then they hired another agent until last week whenever they called me back, and now we're active on the market. So being truthful, it comes like it's, karma, real estate karma.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if you're not, and you do just say, okay, I can suck it up, it always ends up, it's going to drain you. It's going to physically drain you. So the regulated perspective on this is pay attention to your nervous system. And if your stomach, have you ever had this? Your stomach physically drops or your chest gets tight every time a certain client's name pops up on your phone. I know. It's true, y'all. It's true. And I mean, everybody has experienced this. And if at home you're sitting there nodding your head, you know this feeling I'm talking about. So that is your body telling you that this is not a good fit. But let's be real. The pre-breakup jitters are intense. So when you actually have to execute the breakup, well, first, let me just ask, have y'all ever had a breakup with a client?
I got broken up with.
Yeah. So when you have to break up with someone, what are your go-to ways to regulate through your nervous system right before making that call, or you hit send on a text message? Because for me, I literally have to go outside and blast something with a high pressure power washer. If y'all know me, I love to pressure wash, just to get that mental reset. And like, I have to physically be doing something before I have to make a hard phone call. Are y'all like that? Like, okay, let me ramp myself up before I have to like sit down and then I'm like, all right, let's get it over with and let's keep going. But the breakup isn't easy, but sometimes it's needed. So tell us about a time that you've had to break up, or not really break up, but maybe refer out because it wasn't a good fit.
Well, I'll start with the time that I was broken up with, and then I will tell you about the time that I broke up with someone. My very first real estate, well, that's not true. I made many real estate mistakes. My biggest real estate mistake was regarding some friends of mine, and I was at the place where I just, wanted to make them happy. I mean, as we do with all our clients. And so I did not set up the expectations and the plan. This was before I had this system going in. And they got an offer on a property that I knew was going to be the best that they can get. And honestly, it was the only one that they got. But whenever they were in another state, they had a negative experience with a realtor, and that tried to talk them into something, and they did it, and then they felt like taken advantage of. They felt like they left money on the table. They told me about that story more than once. And so when this offer came in, I refrained from telling them the truth. I refrained from saying, listen, we haven't received an offer. These are the current comps. This is our current market. This is what it would look like if you sold. And this is what it would look like if you didn't sell. If I just would have said all those things, they could have made an educated decision. But instead, I said nothing. I said, if that's what you want to do, okay. Well, fast forward to months later, they invested a bunch. And by the way, I had invested over $1,000 in that listing. So I did deeply care about that closing, but I more cared about their friendship, but I more cared about what they thought of me. So more than the $1,000, I cared their opinion of me, which is awful to say out loud. So I didn't say anything. They canceled the listing. They didn't say they were firing me. They were just like, I don't think we're going to sell anymore. They relisted a couple months later with somebody else who made them put on a new roof and had them list less than what the offer that we got was, and they agreed to both of those things. So having a hard conversation would have prevented them from doing those things and would have netted them more money. The unfortunate thing is I couldn't have said that at the time because I didn't know the future, but I could, this was pre-regulation, I could have had a hard conversation that was a little bit more selfless. You know, I've let clients go that have like made appointments and then not showed up. You know, like, yeah, can we go? Can you meet us here? And then they're not there. I'm like, I don't think this is going to work out.
Yeah, no, ghosting. Yeah, how do you keep yourself from spiraling when those events happen? Like when you're sitting there at the house alone, you're like, well, thanks, because I just wasted about a couple hours of my life. How do you respond? How do you, now that you're regulated?
I think it's just like knowing. I was just going to say, it's a lesson, right? Like, hey, they're not meant for me, right? Like, and I think now more than ever after doing this work, it really is like apparent, like what's meant for me won't miss me. Emily always says that. And that's like just one of those, one of those things that I really like, on repeat. I recently I keep calling them clients of mine, but they're not. Past clients of mine listed, I knew they were going to be listing, constantly in touch, always messaging each other on Instagram about different random stuff. And, they weren't sure on their timeline. So I was over there like at the beginning of this year. But again, like I said, I kept in touch always. And they listed with somebody else. And immediately, like, your heart sinks. What did I do wrong? And I just kept thinking to myself, like, what's meant for me won't miss me. I wasn't meant to work with them for whatever reason. I did reach out to her. She did not respond, but I did reach out to her and was like, hey, like, just wanted to know, like, always trying to improve myself. Like, just wanted to know what I could have done better, or what I did wrong. And she didn't respond. So that right there tells me, like, I personally probably didn't do anything wrong. It was, it's something going on in their lives, which is completely fine. But a year ago, this would have totally spiraled me, right? And I just, like I said,
that was hard for you to even send that text to want to learn.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of regulation to say, okay, didn't get it, but I want to grow. I want to learn what I did wrong or any feedback, even though she didn't respond. That was such a big step from
It's
you,
an abundance
Jennifer.
mindset. Yeah, talk about, you were like, there's going to be many more, and this lesson is worth me knowing because of all of the future transactions I'm going to have.
Yeah. I wish she responded. I wish there was something that I could know why. But at the end of the day, like, I just keep reminding myself, like, again, you don't want to work with somebody that doesn't want to work with you. Like I always tell my clients at the very beginning of our appointments, and, it's got to be a mutual, give and take. And so for whatever reason, I wasn't meant to work with them again.
Yeah.
I want to share a cute scenario that some agents in my market center are doing. Divorced couples. You know that whenever you're going through, I don't know that you actually know, but whenever you're going through a divorce, there are obviously two different people with two different personalities that want two different things. And so what I've seen twice now happen in my market center is that two agents represent the same seller. And so they just split that commission on the listing side, which I think is such a beautiful abundance mindset as well. Like they care more about making this thing close than getting the whole piece of the pie. So what you did, Jennifer, having that abundance mindset about your own self, we can do that within our business as well. Like, how can I make this work for you? And it might be just referring them and getting that referral compensation, or it might be, you know what, I can see that you and your ex-husband aren't really on the same page. Would it be helpful if we found one that he would be more comfortable working with, and I can serve you, and, we can have a mediator in that sense. We never know if those kind of conversations does at the end of the day or down the line years actually bring them back closer together. Right. When we serve other people at the highest and do selfless things. Yeah.
How awesome. Jen, finding the solution to make it work, like you said, focusing on getting a little bit and helping them, not getting the whole piece of the pie, but finding a solution to make it work for everyone. And we are, when we do have these breakups, which are hard, and we get broken up with, it's instantly creating a space for the right client to walk into your pipeline. And I think we forget that, we have to, you can't focus on the breakup. You've got to focus on it, like Jennifer said. We've got to make space for the right people to work with. And every person that has broken up with us or we've had to break up with, it's just creating more space and capacity for the right people. So here is your homework for the week. Everybody ready for your homework, listeners?
Because you're back to school over there, so you're just giving out homework.
We're already on the homework train. So, and signing papers, and there's papers galore at the beginning of the school year. But yes, your homework. Take a hard look at your current clients. Is there someone that you might be dating right now that you know deep down you need to break up with? I know that's a hard one. Go protect your peace. So, girls, we made it through another week in the transaction trenches. I've said that twice now.
Look at you.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in to The Regulated Realtor. And if you loved today's episode, of course, hit subscribe and leave us a review. It helps others like you find us and put agents first. So come find us on Instagram at The Regulated Realtor.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.